Okay, so I'm recording now. Just to make sure as it is Thanksgiving week, I have no idea how many people are going to show up and how many people are not going to show up. So we are going to do our best. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. I hope you all are doing okay. I've read through what you've turned in. It looks like most of you are really doing great. Looks like a few of you might have hit a wall, and that's okay. If you want to talk to me at all about that, I'll be available to talk with you about that and get you through the wall. We are so close to being done, and I'm really impressed that you are all still hanging in there. I want to show you something real quick. If I go to here we go. I go to our schedule. I had our profile coming in 1 week early, and I don't know how I did that. When I put together the calendar at the beginning of the semester, I messed up. So it looked like we only really had 2 weeks left, and it was due on the 7th. That is not the case. We actually have this whole week. I thought that December 6th was the last day of classes, but it's not. December 11th is. So we have plenty of time. We are in November 23rd to 29th. We've got this week, next week, and the following week. We are good. We've got lots of time to get this finished. All right. So if you're feeling stressed out, take a breath. You are going to be able to finish this. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do, let me open up chat in case anybody's saying anything. All right. Okay. First thing I want to do is I want to answer these questions that came up during the wind downs. Okay. So the first question was, how will we be organizing and designing our spreads? Also, what platform will we be using? So I have instructions for doing this on Microsoft Word and on Google Docs. If you have experience with other design platforms like Adobe InDesign or anything like that, you are welcome to use them. What you will be submitting to me is a PDF file, and I'm going to go through all of this in detail next week. Okay, so you do not need to be doing any of this work right now. But what it will look like is, so you're going to have a 17-inch by 11-inch 2-page spread. Okay, so it's like it's like you have a magazine and it opens up. All right. So it's 17 inches along the top, 11 inches by the side. So that's two 8.5 by 11 pages next to each other. Again, I'm going to go through exactly how to do this next week on Monday. And you'll have time to get that done. And I have recorded instructions on how to do it in Microsoft Word and in Google Docs. Okay. And again, if you want to use a different platform, that's fine. But I will be showing you how to do it on those too. This week, we're still worrying about content because your design can be great and fancy and wonderful, but if your content is not strong, then it doesn't matter what your design looks like. Okay. So that answers this question, and that answers this question. Do I just edit the paper to that size on Google Docs? Yes, and I will show you how to do that. Okay. Now, these two questions, how much information is really needed and how long does the profile have to be? So let me go back to our announcements. I responded to this on announcements, but let me just pull it up here for you. So the profiles, because they're on this 2-page spread, and they are single spaced, and they are either going to be typically they're in 3 columns or 4 columns. So you've got the different columns of text. They end up, depending on how you design them, they end up between around 650 to 900 words. That's a pretty wide range. And the reason for that range is because the way that you use the design, you can have fewer words or more words. There's a certain limit to how small your words can go, because if they get too small, it's too difficult to read. If they get too big, it looks funny. But the range of between 650 and 900 words seems to work for this. You're going to have some pictures in there. You're going to have a heading and a byline. If you don't know what a byline is, let me write this down for you here. So it's called a byline. it's literally the line that says who wrote this. So it's by, so that, well, not club. So it's by Tiffany Rauskell. Okay. So that's your byline. So you've got your header, you've got your byline, you've got pictures. You might have pull quotes, and pull quotes are when you take, you know, a section of your content and make it bigger so it stands out. So you have quite a wide range here of 650 to 900 words. I am not going to count for this assignment, but just know that that's your range. Okay. So if we go to these questions, okay, are we using a certain program? Again, I just answered that question. How long does it have to be? So so as you are working on your content, just shoot for, you know, in between, you know, that range. And if you're in between that range, you're going to be fine, because we will do design to make it fit on that spread nice and neatly. So let me pause for a second and see if there's any other questions or comments that come up after I've just talked to that. So any questions or comments?
My audio wasn't working when I first connected to the call. So did you address why there wasn't a video for the week instructions?
I have not. Let me answer that. The reason there's not the week 14 instructions are up now. The reason I didn't put them up is because I'm going to go through everything in this Zoom meeting, and then everything that's on the instructions is just a repeat of what we're doing in here. So that's why I didn't put them up beforehand. So yeah, I'm going to go through everything. And then if you forget what you're supposed to do this week, just go back and check the week 14 instructions. Okay. There won't be anything new in that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We good? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop sharing. Here's what we're going to do. So the bulk of today is, actually, let me share again. Sorry. 1 second. And go through again what we're doing today. So what we're doing is we're going to go into breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. And I'm wanting you in those breakout rooms just to talk about your interviews. I want you to talk about what you learned, who you interviewed, what you learned, and I want you to test out your themes on each other. So what is going to be that focus point? What's that focal point that's of interest? And we're just going to talk. And then we're going to just go over the assignments for this week. So we're going to go over the collaborative response assignment. We're going to go over the rest of the assignments, and that's it. So I'm thinking that I'm going to put you in breakout groups of 3 or 4. So I'll give you maybe 15 minutes to talk about it. And then we'll come back together and talk about the rest of the assignments. Okay, so any questions before we get going? Okay, how many participants are there? There are 17 of you. I'm going to use the breakout room magic tool, and I'm going to assign them automatically. This is going to be so much easier. Okay, so I'm making 5 breakout rooms. So there will be, in some of the rooms, there will be 4 people. In the rest, there will be 3 people. In these breakout rooms, I want you just to talk about your interviews. Who did you interview? How'd it go? What did you learn? And what theme are you going to focus on? And I want you to help each other talk through the theme. And is that something that is of interest? Actually, I'm going to make 4 breakout rooms, and then there'll be 4 participants per room. Yeah, I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do 4 breakout rooms. So there'll be at least 4 people in each room. And I just want you to help each other get to that theme stage. I read all of your sketch outlines. It looks like a lot of you have some themes in mind. I just want you to talk through it with each other. And anybody come grab me if you want me to come check in. I'm probably just going to bop around and just listen. I'm not going to talk to anybody when I come in unless you want me to. Okay. So any questions before we do that? Okay, so I'm going to create the rooms, and then I'll just pop in and out, plan on about 15 minutes, and just go ahead and start chatting with each other.
I remember it as a kid, doing the pumpkin patch, and it's pretty awesome. So I decided to do my profile on that.
Yeah, that'll be super cool. Did your dad tell you anything that you didn't know about it before?
About how many pumpkins he would sell.
Hmm.
About 120 tons.
Oh, wow.
He was the first one to do it. He got his idea for it on his mission in Canada. They would decorate with straw and corn stalks. And so he started selling those when he came back and started his own business.
I feel like pumpkins are harder to grow than people think they are because I think my family's tried to grow pumpkins before and it doesn't like they don't get super big.
So, me and Italy kind of established which themes and topics we have, and we're both comfortable with where we're at. But I haven't heard anything else though from anyone,
Yeah.
and it's too early in the morning for me to push someone to talk. So,
Okay, I'll do it. It's my job. Hey, Jorge and Meg, how you doing?
I can go. I interviewed my brother about he was born with bilateral club feet. And so basically what that means, his feet were just turned in and up, kind of like a golf club. So he's had to have a bunch of surgeries to fix that.
But it's not like, I don't know, he's not actually doing anything about it, I guess, which is, I don't know, kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. Is anybody going to incorporate that into their profile? Because like I kind of want to avoid that, to be honest. But like I don't know, like for the guy I was talking to, like does seem like it does seem to be like a pretty big deal for him. But like I also don't want that to just like be taking up word count, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's also its own theme, you know?
Yeah.
Something, but I think you can just focus on the words now and then do the picture, strategize for pictures later.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, because I wasn't really like super sure which kind of pictures that I would want to incorporate, but I guess as I go along writing, I would like be able to focus that more.
Hi, Italy.
I didn't see your message and I just assumed that you wanted us to leave. So
Oh. No, I just said we're going to close the rooms in 2 minutes, and we're going to talk about the themes that you guys have come up with.
I just saw the little 2 and I was like, oh, she wants group 2 to come back.
Oh, can you go back to it?
Yeah, I think yeah, I can.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and go back for a minute. Okay, once everybody's back, we're going to do something. We're just going to experiment with something. Everybody will be back in 29 seconds. Almost everybody's here.
I just will. Do you want me to?
No, thank you. Okay, almost everybody's here. You like my what? Oh, you like my green couch. Thank you. I like my green couch too. My dog likes my green couch too. Okay. All right, everybody, here's what we're going to try to do. Because what I want to do is I want to make sure that you have made the cognitive leap from narrative to theme. Okay, because we can tell a story about the people in our profiles. But one of the key elements of a profile is that it's got a theme or it's got something that is of interest to or something that is of connection to your readers. Okay. So I heard you all talking, when I popped into your rooms, I heard you all talking about content, and that's all fantastic. But let's get to theme. So if you could, everybody open up the chat. Okay. So just hover down at the bottom where it has the little talk bubble and open up the chat so that you can see it on the side. All right. And what I want you to do, I want everybody to name the theme of another person's profile who was in your group. Okay, so I don't want you to do your theme. I want you to see if you can name somebody else's theme. And let me give you some examples, okay, before you start. So one example might be a theme of perseverance or determination or innovation or overcoming odds or trying to connect with others, something like that. So a theme is not, so I know that like Tracy's writing about her dad's pumpkin patch, okay? And Megan's writing about muscular dystrophy and Roa's writing about an artist, okay? So those are all the content of the profiles, but what are the themes? All right, so everybody throw up your best guess of one person's theme in your group. So put their name and then what the theme is. Okay, these are good so far. So I've got determination. So Soraya thinks that Tracy's is about determination. Okay. And Isa thinks that Roa's about overcoming trauma or motivation. Megan thinks that Roa is about overcoming odds. So that seems like a pretty clear theme for you then, Roa. Okay, Megan thinks Italy's is overcoming hardship. Roa thinks that somebody's is overcoming a challenge. I'm not sure whose that was. I think it might be Megan's. Megan, okay. Augustina thinks Anna's is about perseverance. Anna thinks Jackson's is about entrepreneurship. That's interesting, yeah. Okay, Jen thinks that somebody's is about overcoming. Italy thinks that Wyatt's is about dealing with a challenge. That's good. Okay, let's get other people. So let's get who hasn't said something. So I'm just going to sit for another minute. This is your participation points, people. So get it in there. And everybody can put other things. I mean, if you've already put one in there, go ahead and put other ones. Okay, so Italy thinks Wyatt's is about dealing with a challenge. Good. Jackson thinks Anna's is about overcoming challenge. Wyatt thinks that Italy's is overcoming genetics. Interesting. Okay. Lily thinks that Megan's is dealing with health issues. Yep. Clara thinks Soraya's is advice. Okay. Jorge thinks that Italy's is overcoming odds. And Lily thinks she got dropped. That's fine. Okay, Lily, I think that I think you're still here, Lily. Okay, so reflection with grandmother. Okay, so let's talk about that reflection with grandmother a little bit. So I'm not sure whose the reflection with the grandmothers is, but so themes for that might be something about like what elders can teach to us. All right. Or perhaps there's a specific life lesson that's coming from the elder. Okay. Anna says that Augustine is about cultural change. Interesting. Okay, cool. Great. Soraya, excellent. Okay. Okay. Just learning from her. Okay, good. And so Soraya, when it's learning from her, make sure that it's not learning like specific things, but that there's this larger theme of learning from elders. Nicholas said, taking the chances you're given. Okay, that's good. So if you notice these, so you guys all did really well with this. So notice that these themes, they're not necessarily universal in that they apply to absolutely everybody, but they are communal, meaning that they apply to, that people can relate to them beyond just that subject of your profile. And that's the key of profiles, is that a person can be very interesting, but we're not necessarily going to read their profile or be very interested in them unless we can relate to them or relate to their story in some way. Okay. Okay. So, so Isabella asked about the impact grandpa had on mother and brother. What would be a good general theme for that? So it sounds like a couple of you are talking about elders and the impact that they had. And so there might be themes of like family or themes of, I think learning from others. I think that's what Soraya has. So learning from others, but specifically that learning from people who have experienced life in a much longer time frame than most of us have. Okay. And there may be specific, so as you dig deeper into these themes of working with elders, maybe there are specific lessons that you've learned. And maybe those lessons are universal, that are something, or universal or communal, that might be about overcoming a challenge, might be perseverance, might be accepting others, might be showing love and kindness, might be accepting difference, that type of a thing. So you're thinking about what are other people going to relate to with this? All right. So are y'all set with that? Does that seem okay as you move forward to writing your content?
How does that relate to what we're writing? Like how are we going to incorporate the theme into it, if that makes sense?
So for some of you, you might specifically state the theme. So some of you might say, as you're moving through the writing, you might say, so-and-so overcame her challenges. And you're using that term of overcoming challenges. Some of you might say, so-and-so was determined to succeed. So you might actually lay it right in there. For others, it may be so obvious as you go through and write it that the theme is just present without having to use the actual language of the theme. But that's one thing that we'll look at when you share your drafts with each other. That's one thing we'll be looking for is the theme present? Is it obvious what the theme is? I'm going to go to the criteria here in just a moment. But when you're writing, I want everybody, when you're writing your content, write what you think your theme is just up at the top, or stick it on the side or somewhere. Just have it in mind as you're writing, so that your writing kind of continually comes back to that theme. All right, just at least in your mind. Because these people that you've talked with, they have very interesting stories, and you could easily just spin out and talk about all those different stories. But have yourself kind of grounded in that theme somewhere, where you're working. And then I think it will kind of naturally just sort of come back to it. Okay. Okay. Other questions? Okay, cool. So I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you the criteria for the content. So I'm right here on the profile draft. Okay, I'm in week 14, profile draft content only. Okay, and this is where you're going to submit your drafts, and your drafts are due Wednesday night. All right, and if you don't remember how to do the peer reviews, how to get those, just review this this video here. The way that it works is you're going to upload your drafts on Wednesday night. By 10 a.m. on Thursday, I'm going to assign you to your collaborative response groups. You'll go in, you'll be able to see whose drafts you have to look at, and then you'll complete the collaborative response document, and you'll take a picture of it and send it to everybody, just like we did last time. Okay. So let me show you the rubric for the content. There are a few criteria for the design, but we're going to talk about that next week. Okay, so let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm hoping that you can see this. Please unmute yourself if you can't see it, and I will open it up bigger. Okay, let me know if you can't see it. Okay, so there's 6 criteria for the content. First one is, how well does the profile present a meaningful subject and issue, topic, or theme? Okay, so that is, that's where you're going to have to make sure that there's something that your audience can connect with. And that's what, when you're reading each other's documents, I want you to be thinking, okay, how did I connect with this? So the profile increased my awareness, knowledge, or understanding of an issue, topic, or theme. That's the highest evaluation. The second highest one is interesting because it's the profile showed that the subject was meaningful to its author. So there's a distinction there. So this one is that it's meaningful or interesting to me as a reader. This one is, I can tell that this person is meaningful to the author, but it doesn't really connect with me. Okay. And you can read these too. I don't think, because I know that everybody's subjects are meaningful to you. Okay. So I don't anticipate that anybody's going to get less of an evaluation than this. Okay, the next one is, how well does the author balance quotes with story and analysis or interpretation to create a compelling profile? If you remember, we talked about that balance, that profiles have a lot of quotes in them, and because that shows what's happening as opposed to you just interpreting or telling. So the profile fluidly balances quotes, stories, and analysis. The profile's balance of quotes is generally well done, although maybe it feels like it's too heavy in one side or the other. And the profile's quotes or story or interpretation, it dominates too much. So this one is going to feel like really imbalanced. Okay. And this last one is if it distracts. This type of evaluation would be if it's all quotes or if it's all story or interpretation. Okay. Next one is, how well does the profile move back and forth between the subject and the overall issue, topic, or theme? And so what we're looking for is that the connection between the two is always present. And that is going to take place by balancing the quotes and the story analysis well. And if you are not sure how to do this, just go back and look at those samples. Just, kind of look carefully at how they move between the quotes and then the narrative or the story. Okay. So the connection is made occasionally. The connection is made once or twice. The connection is not made. So if it's not made, it's going to be like you're going to have the profile of the person, and there's not going to be any connection to the overarching theme. Okay. So how well does the organization contribute to the overall readability of the profile? The key for this is, while reading, I always know where I am. Okay. So You can organize these in many different ways, but as long as your reader knows where they are, that's like, okay, I understand where I am and I'm going back and forth and it's making sense, then you're good. If you get confused about a paragraph, then we might need to do some reorganizing. Or if I don't see an overall sense of order to the profile, if it's just kind of ideas chunked in there, that might be an issue. Okay. So we're just wanting to see how, where I am in the profile. Next is how well does the profile use sensory details to immerse the reader in the experience. So as a reader, if you feel like you are there with the subject and in the setting, you're awesome. Isa, did you want to say something? You just unmuted. Nope. Okay. Okay. So do you feel like you're there with them? Okay. When you're reading, do you feel like you're reading a description of that? So do you feel like you're reading somebody else in the setting? Then that's that distinction between showing and telling. That's telling. All right. And so, and then when I'm reading, I don't feel a sense of the subject or setting, then you kind of missed the mark. So when you're writing, write as if you're trying to place your reader just right there with you, talking to that person. Okay. So you want the reader there right with you, experiencing it the same way that you do, the same way that you did. The next one is, how well does the profile limit the author's personal feelings and bias about the subject? So as you noticed in that profile synthesis that we did, even if you are very close with your subject, if it's your grandfather or it's your mother or it's your dad or it's your girlfriend or it's your partner or whatever, you are not in relationship with that person during the profile itself. So your individual feelings are not present. You can show your feelings by how you present them, but there won't be anything like, I think this person is so wonderful, or this person has meant a lot to me, because the author's not really present in this profile. It's what your job as an author is to bring the reader and make them present with the person who you're profiling. Okay. So those are the criteria. We're going to do the same thing. We've got this. I want you to compare what you've done. What do you see similarities and differences? And then recommendations to yourself or others. You're going to fill this out. You're going to take a picture of it and you're going to send it to everybody in your group. Okay. And again, I will establish the groups. Hang on one second. Let me minimize this. I will establish those groups and dump your different drafts into your different folders by 10 a.m. on Thursday. Okay. So you'll have between 10 a.m. on Thursday and Sunday night to respond to this assignment. Let me see. And we're going to meet in groups on Monday morning to talk. Okay. Any questions about how that's going to go before I move on to the next two things?
I had a quick question. When you say analysis/interpretation, could you go over a little bit of what that would look like in a profile?
Yeah. So do you remember in the profiles that you read, that would be anywhere that the author is sort of narrating what's happening, or is explaining the impact of somebody's experience, or is sort of describing what they're doing. So that that type of work that you're doing is when it's the author's ideas coming out rather than the quotes about the profile subject. Does that answer that? Does that work?
I think so. It's kind of like showing how the information or history or context relates to the theme or
correct
works in the story. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank
okay. You. Let me go grab just real quick. Let me go find, I'm going to go get one of the profiles just to show you an example of it. Is it
Thank
here?
you.
Reading profile samples. Okay, let me go grab. I'm just going to grab this one. Okay. So we've got this one. So when Chad came back to his grandparents' house for Christmas in 2010, he found Iowa unbearably cold. He'd spent the last few years living in a desert climate. Da, 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 da. So this is narrative. Okay. This is them telling the story. Then this part is a quote. Okay. Hey, Grandpa, said Chad with excitement, his grandfather sitting in his worn down recliner. So this is a quote and this is still setting. Okay. So then this part, Chad adored his grandfather's sense of humor and respected his drive. He had come from a poor background and worked incredibly hard to provide for his family. If he was going to do something, he would do it. He never gave up. Al had served in World War II, although he rarely talked about it. Chad slipped into his combat uniform and went back out to show his grandfather, who recognized the rank symbol on Chad's hat. I was a corporal too, said Al. This is all still narrative. Okay, so right here, this is some narrative and analysis. So this is not really in the, I'm sorry, this is the synthesis and analysis. He had been self-conscious about how he'd looked for as long as he could remember. Chad was dealing with an identity crisis, but at this point he couldn't quite understand it. He had been named Brittany at birth, and the name his family still called him at that point. Okay, so that is him. And then this part right here, that holiday in 2010 was the only time Chad was able to show his grandfather his uniform. For as long as Chad could remember, he'd wanted to be in the military. So it's not quite in that narrative where you are in that moment where you're conducting the interview. This is more reflection and kind of setting the stage and setting the scene and sort of analyzing what's happening to connect everything together. Does that make sense to you all? Or are you guys getting more confused?
I personally think I'm getting a little bit more confused. It might be like beneficial if we maybe compared your criteria to a profile, so you show examples of what you're expecting.
Okay.
That might be helpful.
So what I can do, so let me do this. How about I record that for you guys? Since we're at about 45 minutes right now on the Zoom, why don't let's do this. I'll wrap up the class here and then I'm going to record you guys going back and forth between those two. Does that sound good? And then I'll upload it to the announcements by this afternoon. And I'll go through a couple of these so that we can see. And what I'll do is I'll just go through a couple of these. I'll just go through a couple of the profiles themselves and I'll just sort of talk through them. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, for me.
Okay, so I will do that and I will get that. Hang on, somebody did a chat thing. Hang on. Okay, so that was that. Okay. Yeah, so I will do that and I'll have that up for you this afternoon. My son unfortunately poured water all over his computer, so we have to go and deal with that, but I will have it to you by later this afternoon for sure. Yes, Anna. Oh my God, there was much screaming in the house today. So I got to go do that at 11:30, but then I'll come back and I will take care of this and I will record this and I will upload it to the announcements. Okay, so let me go back to here. Is everybody else? So what I need you all to do is if you are feeling lost or confused right now, I need you to unmute and talk to me because I'm going to continue going on through the rest of the assignments this week. But Roa, did you have something you want to say? You're good? Okay. Okay. So on Wednesday, your profile draft gets uploaded. Okay. You guys provide feedback to each other by Sunday. And then you've got two other things due by Sunday. The first one is analyzing profile design. And in this one, what I want you to do is I want you to look at these 5 examples. They're just right here for you. You don't have to open them up bigger or anything. And I want you just to respond to these questions. I just want you starting to think about design. So how's the spread organized? How's the reader guided through it? So where do your eyes go? Where do they go first? Where do they go next? What are they drawn to? How are size, shape, and color used? How's the text organized on the spread? How are images used? Does the spread have a tone? Like, is there a feeling to it? Is there a sense or a feeling that you get? And what sense do the headers and sections give to you? Meaning, and what I mean by that is like, do they feel like, actually ignore this one. I just mean the same question here. Okay, so ignore that last question. So I want you to respond to this discussion. It's a group discussion. You're going to be in smaller groups. So just kind of have a conversation about it. Then the last thing that you need to do is there's just a quick wind down. And so just a quick wind down, do that. That's everything that is due for Sunday. And then next week, we're going to meet both on Monday and Wednesday. And on Monday, I'm going to take you through the design stuff. We're going to analyze previous profiles from previous students on their design merits. Then you're going to work on your design. You're going to work on your design. You're going to upload it. You're going to give each other feedback. And then we have this whole last week to continue working on them. Okay. So questions.
Do we need to come up with a title during our content this
No,
week?
you do not. No, you do not need to come up with a title during your content. No. And that might be something you guys could help each other with on Monday as well. Help each other with titles. And I have found, honestly, that I'm the worst at writing my own titles, but I can help other people get titles. It's hard to do your own titles.
Can we talk about titles for just a second? Like
Sure.
how do you come up with one? Like what needs to be in it? Because I noticed that they all have really unique, like specific titles, but I have no idea where to start.
Usually your title is going to come from the theme. It's going to be like making your theme concrete. So if we just glance at these, hang on one second. Let me go to this. Where is it? Oh, wait, no, it's in this week. Sorry. So if we look at this one, so Eye of the Tiger, this is called Diva on the Making, Forever Fashion's Father, Fred Jackson, playing to her strengths. They all have sort of, they either allude to a cliche, so like playing to her strengths or Diva in the Making or Eye of the Tiger, or they use what's called alliteration. So alliteration is when you repeat the same letter, repeat the same sound. So Forever Fashion's Father. This one says, what does this one say? Oh, Fred Jackson, Bill's Running Jack. So that's just his name. Okay. They tend to be brief. They tend to be, short. They might pull from the actual text, but let's plan on Monday. Let's plan on talking about titles a little bit more. Okay. Yeah. Because that's a part of design. Okay. Other questions from people? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, hang on, let me make sure. I'm going to go into this reading profile samples one, and I'm going to go through some of these particular profiles. I'm going to have the criteria up, and I'm just going to talk through them. I'm going to talk through them back and forth. I will upload that by the end of the day and by the end of the afternoon. And then you guys can go in and take a look at it as you're drafting your content, and then just get that content drafted and upload it by Wednesday night. I'll have you in groups by Thursday, and then you'll have till Sunday to get things completed. Whoops. Okay, is everybody good? Okay, I'm assuming that silence means that you are good. Can I see some reactions? Can you guys throw like thumbs up or anything like that? Just want to make sure that you're still around.
I'm good.
Okay, good.
I'm here.
Okay, good. Very good. Okay. Okay, so look for that announcement. It will come out later today. And thank you for that suggestion. I think that's a great suggestion. Okay. Okay. No questions from anybody? Okay, we're good. So I will see you on Monday. The instructions are up there now. It's just going to repeat what we did here, but go ahead and look at them if you'd like. And then have a peaceful and safe break. Okay. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Bye.
you.